Morning, everyone. Depends on where you are. Welcome to this joint webinar hosted by Centroid and RackWare around protection tips and tools for modern cloud migration and disaster recovery. Just a quick introduction of who the speakers today are. We have from RackWare, Todd Matters. He's the co-founder and CTO. And my name is Nirmal Mishra. I'm the director of sales at Centroid. And with me, I have Navdeep Saini, who is the cloud migration lead for Centroid. So what we intend to cover today is Todd will cover tips and tricks on cloud migration and also details around the RackWare tool. What I would like to cover is a quick introduction of who Centroid is and give a quick overview and how Centroid and RackWare are partnering to bring value to our clients. So Centroid has been in business for 23 years. We're based across US and India. If you want to understand, or if we have to say who Centroid is, we are an Oracle enterprise workload experts. We've been in the business, as you saw, 23 plus years, and the areas that we serve in, we go really deep. And at times, even Oracle leans on us to provide help and expertise. Now, what do we mean when we say we go deeper? Let's give you an example. Let's tell you a story. And this is around one of the clients that we have for the last 3 years. So HID, everyone knows who HID is. If you're working in an office, swiping in and out of the office premise, you probably have an HID card in your hand that you use to come enter any secured premise. Now, HID has been in this business for many years, but in the recent 5 to 6 years, they have been reinventing themselves. Instead of just selling the cards that you sell it to your customers, they are now trying to sell different products like a Bluetooth sensors or proximity sensors to track people's movement in and out of secure environments. Apart from new product model, they have grown into new revenue models like a subscription-based business rather than just selling it one time. And in order for them to look for new business model and grow their business, they needed to make changes to their current technology ecosystem. And because they had all legacy systems, so they had that challenge, and they were looking for a partner who could help them take their technology to the next level so that they can take their business to the next level. So in came Centroid. We partnered with HID, and we basically helped them transform their finance, manufacturing, supply chain businesses. And the way we did that with a hybrid cloud model. So we put supply chain on a software as a service, while the EBS finance manufacturing was put on OCI, which is Oracle Cloud Infrastructure. Right? We help refocus their business operations so that they can their IT folks can spend time taking care of the business priorities rather than running the data center. So we help them move out of data center, and we help them get into the new system. So when we came in, we helped HID create a strategy and roadmap in 3 weeks. We helped migrate their front and back office applications to cloud, at the same time enhance their business functionalities. We helped shut down the data centers, which saved them 35 to 45% cost on an annual basis. And so far, we have migrated over 1,500 workloads into Oracle Cloud. We enabled HID to double their revenue in around 4 years. And all this was made possible because RackWare was one of our tools that was extensively used to help migrate disparate systems, disparate Oracle workloads into a cloud environment. We continue to serve this client, and we are very happy with our partnership. Now, that also tells us who we are, right? What's our DNA? And our DNA is a relentless pursuit to help our clients succeed. And that also comes out because 97% of our clients continue to be our clients. So we are very high client retention rate. How do we help our client? We help them with a 3-step process of simplifying their journey to the cloud. We plan, which is like strategy and design. We find the best fit cloud solution and put the roadmap together. It could be cloud of their choice. If it's an Oracle workload, it would typically turn out to be an Oracle cloud. But if they want to move it on to a different cloud, we put that roadmap and give them the best possible path. We help move, build and migrate applications into the cloud, and we also help them run and manage. And it is enabled by a combination of proprietary and industry standard tools and assets. And as I said, RackWare happens to be a very important component of it. In terms of services and offerings, if you look into this, is one slide to capture it all. Customer is at the center of what we do. We help our customer through a combination of SaaS, PaaS, and IaaS, and with different services offerings that we have around consulting, technology, managed services, hosting services, and optimization services. Our clients spans across multiple different industries, from small to mid-market to enterprise. As I said, our clients have been our client for a pretty long time, and they stick with us, which is pretty important and something we take pride in. Our presence, we are based out of Troy, Michigan. That's our headquarters. We also have a delivery center in Hyderabad, India. Around 185 clients with 150, employees with 150 certifications, very low attrition rate. And more importantly, most of the work that we do with our employees. We hardly have contractors that we bring on to serve our clients. In terms of our partnership with RackWare, we started in 2018, and within a month of becoming partners, we actually won this deal, which is actually the HID deal, where we started migrating, or we put a path for migrating Oracle workloads to cloud using RackWare. And so far, we have used RackWare at multiple different clients and migrated thousands of applications into the cloud in a very seamless manner. We can answer more questions around what we have been doing so far and towards the end of the presentation. But at this point, I would like to hand it over to Todd to talk more about the RackWare tips and tricks and the expertise. Todd, over to you.
Thank you. Thank you for that introduction as well. And let me bring this up. RackWare has a software management suite for cloud. There's two main product categories. There's RMM, RackWare Management Module. This is our IaaS project. It works on servers and operating systems and applications. And we just introduced our Swift product, which is a Kubernetes and a container product. I'll be talking mostly about the RMM product today. So across both those products, there's three major use cases. There's migration, there's converged disaster recovery and backup, and there's hybrid cloud management. Now, I'm just going to be talking about migration and DR and backup today. I should point out, we're very enterprise focused. We have a lot of features in the product that allows very complex environments and workloads and difficult elements of data centers to be migrated into cloud environments. As was mentioned, we are partners with Centroid. They're a great company to work with. As was mentioned, we did our first project with them. They were very good at understanding the customer needs and how to interface with the customer and basically translate that into a very successful experience into the cloud. So a little bit about our technology. So the underpinning technology for all those use cases is a true any-to-any replication and sync technology. It actually works data center to data center, and it works for physical servers. So the software can replicate, let's say, from a Dell server to an HP server. This is an image-based technology, so the entire image is moved to the target hardware. There's a lot of technology around understanding the underlying hardware and being able to configure the image to that hardware. Now, of course, the software supports virtual machines, but we do this in a little bit of a different manner than other products. So everybody's inclination is to start copying the MDK files around, but if you think through all the other use cases, you end up running into some dead ends. So first of all, if you're copying VMDKs, it doesn't support physical servers. And then the cross hypervisor case ends up being very difficult and in many instances just doesn't work. In fact, even if you're in the same family of hypervisor and you're separated by too many versions, that VMDK translation doesn't work. This is particularly relevant because most cloud environments are not going to be running on the same hypervisor that you're running in your production workloads. So what we did, we took our physical server technology and we use it for virtual machines. So there's several advantages to this approach. One is we get that cross hypervisor capability for free. So any of these cross hypervisor confluences will work. Physical to virtual, that works as well. And importantly, the same feature set and the same workflow can be used in all of these instances. Those confluences are extended into cloud environments. Now, the reason why the software can support so many cloud environments is we don't use cloud services or utilities. We use our own technology. So the software only needs to interface to the provisioning APIs. It'll provision a server, and then we use our own technology to complete the replication into those cloud environments. Another major advantage of this architecture is cloud to cloud works. So if you have workloads already running in one cloud, let's say Amazon, and you want to move those workloads into Oracle Cloud, that's no problem. Or we're also seeing a lot of disaster recovery across different cloud providers, right? You want to minimize your exposure to any one cloud provider. So if you're in Azure and you want to do DR into Amazon, that works as well. Now, also cloud back to data center works. That may sound a little odd to you, but if you think about the disaster recovery and converged backup use case, if you fail over from data center to cloud, assuming you don't have to rebuild your data center, you want your fallback to be just as seamless and integrated and automated as the failover. So again, this is a true any-to-any. Even if you failed over from a physical server in your data center to a virtual machine in the cloud, the RMM software can fall back virtual to physical. These are all elements that are a fallout of the architecture that we put together here. Now, the Swift product, this operates on Kubernetes and containers. It shares a lot of the same tenets of the RMM. In particular, it's the any-to-any. Now, Docker certainly supports native and on-prem environments, but it also supports services for Kubernetes and containers in multiple clouds. So it does implement that true any-to-any. It's very, very good at being able to translate or mask differences in storage. That's kind of the Achilles heel of containers. You have different types of storage and they don't necessarily translate well. The RackWare Swift product is particularly adept at being able to translate differences of storage architectures across different clouds, across different on-prem environments, or on-prem into cloud. Now let's go back to the RMN. Let's say we have a set of workloads and we want to replicate those workloads into a target cloud environment. So you would spin up a relatively small virtual machine in the cloud. Again, the software is called RMM, RackWare Management Module. It's a Linux application. So it installs on top of Red Hat, CentOS, or Oracle Linux. Installation takes about 20 minutes. Now, all the intelligence resides in the RMM. You don't need to install anything in the origin environment. The software connects in over the network at the operating system level. So the RMM does need IP level connectivity. This can be across any kind of network connection that lets you get there. The software is highly secure. It uses SSH, which is highly encrypted. There's multiple ciphers that can be configured. You only need to open port TCP/22 for the RMM to connect to those origin workloads. First, the RMM does a discover of the origin workloads. Now, it understands enough about the individual servers to complete the replication process, but it can also do an assessment or an analysis of the servers in aggregate. You can use this for application affinities, wave planning. The software will do right sizing. I'm not going to go into too much detail on those, but suffice to say that those deeper features around assessment are there. Now, relative to the replication, the software understands the type and size of server to auto provision. This is a highly automated process. The algorithm that understands the origin hardware and selects the correct target server so your workloads perform as well in the cloud or better. It's an excellent algorithm. It avoids a lot of human error relative to figuring out what you have to provision and the details around what you provision. The software understands enough about the software then to complete that replication process into the target. Now, this replication is completely non-disruptive to your origin server, so you're still up and running, generating transactions. And upon a reboot of the server in the target environment, you have an exact replica of the origin server running in the target. It's the exact same OS down to the version and patch level, all the configurations, all the applications, user data, user logins. So all the users that can log into the origin server can log into the target. All the applications that are available in the origin are available on the target. Again, it's an identical workload except for device drivers. So the hardware is going to be different, but so the device drivers will be different. By the way, that's automated. You don't need to know anything about it. It's transparent to you. The software will figure out the necessary device drivers and inject them, and networking will be different. Now, you can keep your IPs the same. Multiple clouds do support bring your own IP, but if you are changing IPs, that also is completely automated. You don't need to run around updating your IP addresses, your gateway IPs, things like that. The software takes care of that automatically as part of this replication. Now, another very important feature is Delta Sync. This is a highly efficient Delta Sync. The software copies over only the changed bytes from origin to target. You can do as many Delta Syncs as you want to. So after you do your initial replication, test out a Delta Sync, your application owners would then come in, verify that the applications are running. Now, again, you can take your time here because you're still running production on the origin side. Once you've thoroughly verified your applications, then you would schedule your cutover, you would do your final syncs. So your downtime is an absolute minimum. Typically the downtime is less than an hour, and you do your cutover during off-peak hours. So your downtime is a minimum, there's zero data loss, and in a very quick period, you're up and running in the cloud environment. Now let's talk about disaster recovery. So you can probably see there's a building block approach here. With the building block approach, you create a policy. This is a disaster recovery policy. You define all kinds of things in the policy. There's a policy engine that runs on top of the imaging capability. You can define boot order, post-boot delay, pre and post scripts. You define the frequency that you want to do your sync. You can do a selective sync. You can sync over selected drives, directories, and files. There's a lot of features here to accommodate, some of those more difficult workloads, but it also is very, very simple for your more simple workloads as well. Again, this is highly automated. Once this is set up, it runs automatically. You generate reports. If there's any issues, you get alerts that can be configured. And the whole point, if you have an extended outage on the origin side, you can fail over and run production in that target environment with a minimum of manual intervention. And again, that fallback, this is a true any-to-any. So when you go to fallback, again, assuming you didn't have to rebuild your data center, to the software, it simply reverses the sync direction. That sync may take a little longer than normally because you have a lot of updated data in the target, but the software just reverses the sync direction and then you're up and running back in your origin. If you did need to rebuild your origin, that's still not a problem. The RMM is very capable of replicating from cloud back to data center, just like it would in the reverse direction. Now, there's a couple features that are designed to save customers money. The first is what we call dynamic provisioning. In dynamic provisioning with disaster recovery, you would still provision the RMM server, install the software in the target environment. Then the software would capture the images. Again, this is an image-based technology, and keep them in a storage location. Now, if we were doing a migration, we would replicate the origin server directly to a target server. But again, this is a low-cost option. So once the image is replicated in storage, you can create that policy, sync to it at a very, very aggressive RPO, and during steady state, you're not using any compute resources, just a little bit for the RMM. So this is a very low-cost option. And then only if you're doing a DR test or it's a real failover, only then will the software provision the target servers, complete the replication process, and you're up and running. And if it is a DR test, cleanup is very easy. It's in the cloud, so you can improve the frequency that you're doing your DR tests and make sure everything is working. The only disadvantage with this approach is your recovery time will be a little bit longer because you have to accommodate for the time it takes to provision the servers. So what if you want that very aggressive recovery time? That's not a problem. You can pre-provision the target servers. The storage in the middle to the RMM, that can be used to hold backup images. You can keep multiple sets of recovery points, protect from malware, or just restore maybe a server that had gone bad on your origin side. There's a lot of uses there. And here, your recovery time is about the time it takes to reboot the server. So the whole point is, it's not a one-size-fits-all. You have higher priority servers. You want to protect them with pre-provisioned workloads with a very aggressive, very quick recovery time, but you have lower priority servers where you want to save money, where your recovery time is just a little bit longer, and you do have the time to be able to provision your server. So you can apply a very low cost option for your lower priority, medium priority servers, and still meet your mission critical application needs with a very quick recovery with pre-provisioned servers. Okay, so if you look at the right-hand side, the left column, our compatibility matrix is largely operating system based. Again, everything is done at the OS level, doesn't care what the hypervisor is. So for Windows, we go back to 2008. Red Hat and CentOS, we go back to version 5, but there's also support for Oracle Linux, Ubuntu, and SUSE. We do support, again, all the major hypervisors, all the major clouds, and we can meet pretty much any migration or disaster recovery need. So I'll turn it back over. I think we're going to have maybe a couple finish up slides and maybe some questions.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Todd. Thermal, I appreciate you guys sharing all that information. Go ahead and share my screen. All right, so what I will do is I will read out the questions as they come in, and then Nirmal, Todd, Nav, feel free to jump in and answer them at your leisure. It looks like our first one is, does RackWare support OS upgrade during migration to cloud?
So we do have features to facilitate OS upgrades, but just natively, this is a lift and shift. So the idea is the target server will look exactly like the origin server. So we do a selective sync, so we can copy over data drives for OS upgrades, but we won't natively do an OS upgrade.
Gotcha. Great. Our next question is, how can we make sure RTO and RPOs are met using RackWare for DR?
Sure. So there's a whole dashboard in the product, and the product is capable of generating multiple reports. You also can configure alerts for both successes of syncs and failures. The report's very comprehensive. It shows you the min sync time, the max, and what the average is, and it'll also itemize any sync failures that you had. So making sure or understanding that you're meeting all your objectives is very easy to do with that dashboard feature.
Awesome. Does RackWare support migration to platform services like AWS, RDS, AWS Aurora, Oracle Autonomous DB, and Oracle DBCS?
So the RMM product is IaaS based. So we don't do services. We replicate servers in their entirety. The Swift product is service oriented, and the first introduction of the services are for Kubernetes services across cloud environments.
Very cool. Right, it looks like this is from Linda. Do you support physical servers?
Yes, it's true that in most environments, the number of physical servers is maybe 5% to 10%, but they're often running the most critical workloads. They're usually the largest and the most important. So that's actually a fundamental element of the overall strategy for the product.
Great. All right, we're just going to take a couple more questions here. Does RackWare support keeping the same IP addresses?
Yes, that's actually a really good question. So there's a lot of options in the product relative to the network. I mean, the network is everything. If the network doesn't work, the environment doesn't work. One of the options is to keep your IPs the same. That's always easy to do for your applications. However, it's often the case, there's two interfaces. There's one for your private IPs for your applications. There's a second interface for your management network. When you replicate a server into a target environment, you probably want to keep your private IPs, which the software can do, but you want that management network to change. So the whole point is you have those options on an interface by interface basis. Some interfaces can keep the same. Some interfaces will end up changing. Again, that's all an automated process.
Great. All right, the last question here. Does RackWare support VMware to cloud?
Yes, that's actually that's probably a primary use case. Most environments are running VMware for production. I should point out as well, again, we're not copying the VMDK. So a very big advantage of our approach is we provision the native machine format, whatever that is, in the target environment. We're not morphing or modifying or pushing a VMDK into a different VMDK format, again, for complex environments or versions that are off. That just doesn't work that well. So you get the advantage of being able to provision and run on the latest correct machine format for that target cloud, and the software handles things at the image level.
Great. Thanks, Todd. I appreciate it. Thank you, Nirmala. I appreciate both of your time. Again, thank you for everyone that attended. Our goal here was to help simplify the idea around tips and tools for modern cloud migration and disaster recovery. This will be posted on YouTube if you guys ever want to check this out again. And as always, feel free to reach out to both RackWare and Centroid should you have any more questions after this. Appreciate everybody's time.